Okay, so according to Chael Sonnen, the bad guy, the gangster from West Linn, Oregon, okay, he says that he's got it on good authority that Tom Aspinall is fighting Ciryl Gane next.
Somebody hits me in 40 minutes, but the current plan right now, Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane for the Interim Championship.
Now, I want to preface this that maybe Chael's talking out of his ass, okay? I like Chael Sonnen. I think he's tremendous at what he does. He's a very, very good YouTuber. He's a very talented talker. He was a world-class fighter. I'm honored to have shared the octagon with him, even though I feel like I won that one. But regardless, who cares? Very, very close fight. Chael's awesome. Chael's great. But sometimes Chael'll just be talking shit, okay?
Do you really believe that Minotauro thought that a bus was a horse?
That happened. Now that happened. He stuck that carrot in the grill, and his brother was, whoa, big fella. Like,
so I don't know. Is he onto something here? Does he have inside information? Is he spilling the beans on something that's actually going to go down? Or is he talking out of his ass? We don't know. I don't know, okay? But let's just take it on face value for a second. If Ciryl Gane is going to fight for the interim strap against Tom Aspinall, this is a crazy situation. Now, International Fight Week is just around the corner, and we need a big main event. And there's a lot of big fights getting discussed at the moment, by the way, but none would be bigger than Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. That's the biggest fight that the UFC can put on. It's one of the biggest fights in all of combat sports. It'll be one of the biggest fights the UFC has ever put on, okay? Tom wants to fight. The UFC want the fight, but it hasn't materialized yet. Now, Tom Aspinall said recently on his YouTube channel, there's going to be news soon of a fight, but he was sworn to secrecy.
I do know what's happening. I have had meetings with the UFC, as we know. I have been sworn to secrecy.
Of course he's sworn to secrecy. When he fights, it's going to be a big moment. It's going to be a big deal. They want all the pomp and circumstance. They want a press conference. They want the world's media there. But is it going to be against Ciryl Gane? Because if it is, they have to strip Jon Jones. If they have to bring in another guy for Tom to defend the interim strap 2 times against Curtis Blades and then Ciryl Gane, because Jon Jones doesn't want to fight him, then I'm sorry, this is really going to tarnish his legacy. Jon Jones is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the greatest of all time. Simple as that, okay? That's a fact. Look at what he did throughout the entirety of his career, taking on generations of champions. You know, we don't need to go through it all. Yes, there's competition. George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. You can even say Fedor Emelianenko from other organizations and stuff like that. But Jon Jones has beaten multiple generations of champions, defended the belt a ridiculous amount of times, okay? So I don't think he's necessarily scared, but he's probably like, oh, shit. Tom Aspinall's knocking everyone out. He's the best finisher in the sport right now. He's absolutely gigantic. He floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee, knocking everyone out in ridiculous fashion. He can wrestle. He can submit people. He's got a great gas tank on him, we think. We've never seen him have to go into the later rounds because he just finishes everybody. But if Jon Jones doesn't want to fight him and they've got to bring in Ciryl Gane, then they've got to talk about stripping this guy. That's just a fact. That's not breaking news. But let's talk about this. Ciryl Gane versus Tom Aspinall. That gets me thinking. That's a really, really interesting fight. Now, of course, when you look at Tom, what separates him from most heavyweights is his athletic ability, his size, his agility, his speed, of course, his technical prowess, and his knockout power. Ciryl Gane can match him for a lot of that stuff. Of course, Tom is more technical and he's more well-rounded. He's got better wrestling, he's got better jiu-jitsu, and he probably hits harder. In fact, he does hit harder. It's because he's not scared of being taken down. He goes forward, he's aggressive, he stands in the pocket, and he really commits and swings like crazy. I'm just saying in terms of athletic ability, agility, size, power, speed, stuff like that, Ciryl Gane might be able to match him. Remember, he went to a decision against Francis Ngannou. Yes, of course, Francis took him down, turned into a wrestler, won via decision. And we know, of course, Jon Jones submitted him in the first round, just over 2 minutes. Slipped a shot, got in tight, dragged him down, and as Gane was standing, locks up the guillotine. So Tom's far more advanced in terms of technical ability when it comes to grappling in general, whether it's on the ground or when it comes to wrestling and taking people down. And if Ciryl Gane has improved his takedown defense, it could turn into a very, very interesting fight. However, I think Tom beats him. But the most interesting part of this is that if this is even going to happen, what is going on with Jon Jones? Okay? Because they need to strip the guy. And I don't say that lightly. I do not say that lightly, given the career that he's had and everything he's given to the sport of mixed martial arts, all that he's done and what he's accomplished and achieved over the years. It's insane. And that's why you got Tom Aspinall now coming out, starting to talk a little bit of shit. You know, he's calling him out. He's very confident. He's walking around with a duck all the time. He had a little post recently where he was taking a stab at the steroid allegations, saying the only kind of juice that you'll see me having and whatnot. And that's what he's got to do. He's got to try and, tempt Jon to want to shut him up. Because the fight hasn't materialized, of course, a while ago. He was talking about needing 6 months for a training camp. That doesn't change anything. And I'm waffling on and I'm going on. I've made my point. If that fight happens, it will massively affect the legacy of Jon Jones. Of course, it won't take away what he's already achieved in the sport. That's set in stone. But you can't only take on fights that you know you are going to win. That's what Jake Paul does. That's why I don't respect Jake Paul as a fighter. It's not that I'm jealous of his money or anything like that. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot more money than me. Okay, and I'm not jealous of them. Jake Paul isn't a real fighter. He manufactures the situation for fights and opponents that he knows he can win. Like this new one with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., okay? Guy's pushing 40. He was beaten by Anderson Silva. He's had problems with substance abuse and stuff like that, I believe, in the past. And he's got a few losses on his record. He's almost 40, okay? And he's not his dad, okay? This is another situation that Jake Paul's looked at it. It's calculated. Yeah, he's got to work hard. Yeah, he's got to train hard. But he probably knows he can beat this guy. He's not taking on proper contenders that are in their prime, that are coming up, that have boxed their entire life, that are like international champions or like British or European champs and stuff like that. No, that's not who he's taking on. He's taking on pretty much has-beens, okay? And I'm not saying that Jon Jones was doing that, but what I'm saying is he's starting to fall into that territory. Anyway, moving on. Yesterday I did a video regarding the situation in the middleweight division, okay? Drickers is out. Kyle Borhaio is trying to get a fight with Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev posted a video where, he showed him choking him out and a little bit of drilling. And I called it out. I said, that video looks like they were drilling. Kyle Borhaio came out and he said, yeah, hold on a minute. We were drilling. We were allowing him to get those situations. That's what you do when you're drilling. You shoot a double leg. You don't resist. You resist just a tiny bit to make it realistic, and you just let them go through the moves. It's called drilling. Drillers are killers. Drillers are hard work, okay? But you don't win anything for getting a rear naked choke when you're drilling on someone. So Kyle provided a little bit of clarity on that.
Actually, this didn't make me feel anything, because as I said to you, I have no ego, bro. I think the better guy to train with, because I'm never there to hurt you.
And I called it out. I said it, your man over here knows what he's talking about, people. Anyway, what do we think about Jon Jones? Do we think Chael Sonnen's just talking out of his ass? If he is, he's a prick, because I've just done a 10-minute video talking about absolutely nothing. But give me your thoughts in the comment section on what you think about all of this. Subscribe, ring the bell. See you soon.